Good evening, Southcoast and Greater New Bedford. This is Ian Abreu, the host of the Southcoast Job Show. It's my pleasure to be here with you once again. And for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, again, a background about the show and a little bit of a history. The purpose of this show, basically, is to be able to connect job seekers, which may be you out there in internet streaming land, looking for employment, looking for new work. You may be unemployed, you may be underemployed, and our job is to help connect you with employers and companies who may be looking to hire people like yourself, and also talk to individuals who are responsible for the economic development, workforce development, and job training services here in the Greater New Bedford and South Coast community. Again, I am your host, Ian Abreu. It's my honor to be here on New Bedford Guide Live. And as always, we talked about last week, we're going to have different guests, different industry experts coming in every single show, and I'm very honored and tickled pink to have my good friend as our first guest live and in studio, Mr. Jim Oliveira. Not only is Jim the executive director of the Greater New Bedford Workforce Investment Board, he's also my friend and a former city council colleague. And Jim, it's a pleasure for you to be here today.
Happy to be here today, as usual.
Happy to have you. So let's start a little bit about who you are and how you got to the position of the Greater New Bedford Workforce Investment Board. And I guess also, too, in that same explanation, what does the Workforce Investment Board do?
Well, sure. Just a little bit of background relative to how I got here. I've been involved in workforce issues now for over 30 years. For some time, I was a private sector member and at that time, back in those days, it was the Regional Employment Board, and then they transitioned to the Private Industry Council, and then more recently transitioned to Workforce Investment Boards, for which we'll see another transition in the upcoming year to workforce boards, to make it all a lot easier to figure out what do those guys do. And it's been interesting because it's been kind of a crazy run. I was in economic development in the late 80s and early 90s, and was responsible as the mayor's liaison to the workforce board at the time. And you got a chance to get a real bird's eye view of how things work. And interestingly enough, after I left that position, I became a training vendor with a friend of mine, and we started up our own firm and got it really rocking and rolling in the 90s and into the new decade, and it did very, very well, working with women who were seeking to transition from welfare to work. Nowadays, I'm with the workforce board, and it was an interesting transition, because now you look at the whole system, and that's our job at the board level, is to look at the whole system. We manage it on behalf of the mayor, who is the chief elected official for the region, and when I speak of the region, I speak of 9 other cities and 9 other towns that surround the New Bedford region, for which that region is served by the New Bedford Career Center down on Acushnet Avenue. Down there, you've got a Career Center operator, which is New Direction South Coast. They're responsible for bringing in folks and assessing them and determining if there is an opportunity to provide them with some training. And you also have the other arm, which is the Department of Career Services Unemployment Assistance Agency in there as well. So we're all working together. What they've sought to achieve over the last couple of years is what they call an integrated service delivery system. And so anyone that you talk to is an ambassador for the workforce system down there.
And that was very well put, Jim, and thank you for that very detailed explanation. You know, and working closely with what you do, obviously in my post at the Chamber of Commerce during the day, we've worked in concert a lot together on we're talking about engaging individuals to connect them to priority industries, industries that are really booming here in New Bedford and Greater New Bedford, as well as creating a pipeline for those priority industries, getting young men and women engaged, getting them up to snuff, getting them trained. There are some great things happening, not only with the WIB, but with the WIB and other regional partners, whether it's the Chamber, the EDC, cities and towns. A lot of great stuff happening, and I know you wanted to kind of delve into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, let me talk about training first. Interesting enough, we are focusing on 4 priority industry sectors. That would be manufacturing, healthcare, retail, hospitality, and marine, maritime. Each of those sectors are unique, and there are some indicators, labor market indicators that would argue that there are positions available. It depends on how you view each of those sectors. More prevalently, though, the manufacturing sector has been very active in terms of their need for new employees. A number of their seasoned individuals are now in that retirement mode, and there's a need to backfill positions as other folks move up. You come in with your entry-level position. So over the last 2 years, or two and a half years, we've received several $100,000 in grants to train pretty close to 100 new people to move into the pipeline.
Excellent.
And so that's one example of where we go. There are funds that we make available to the Career Center operator, New Directions, for which we term individual training accounts.
Yep.
And and we work with the Career Center operator to be sure that some of those training account funds are going to be utilized to meet priority sector needs.
Yep.
So if someone wants to be a phlebotomist, they can access that type of training. If they're looking to be, even in some cases, rare, but we have approved them, an LPN will approve partial grantee status for that purpose. And in other cases, folks may just want to be a CNA/home health care aide, and those services are provided as well. In retail, we focused a lot with youth, out-of-school youth, and have been very successful in providing them with retail credentials, nationally recognized retail credentials. A lot of these young people just need a hand, and this type of a system provides them with that hand to go through a quick and efficient training program that would lead to an internship and then a job. So those are some examples of how we're working in the priority sectors. Maritime and marine is relatively new to us. However, it's not unknown by us. This is one of those things where you look at the world, and sometimes the world is way out there, and all of a sudden it hits you right in the eye. And you say, you know what? The same thing's happening down on the waterfront.
Especially with all the Sector 9 issues that are happening.
Yes.
You must be having a lot of fishermen, fisherwomen, maritime professionals who are coming looking for help because they might not know what the future is for the industry.
Yeah, it hasn't been as prevalent as you would expect it to be, but that type of need comes in drips and drabs. And as you know, once quotas have been met, folks will not be fishing for a while. They go into the Career Center. They might collect unemployment insurance first and foremost, and then in some cases, folks make decisions whether or not there's going to be a career change. So I would say that it's not like they're banging down the doors, but we do see that type of a clientele from time to time.
Now, what about offshore wind? I know we didn't talk about it. There are some who are all in, and there are some naysayers, like there may be naysayers for the casino or for Southcoast Rail. Some folks might think that the offshore wind industry is kind of like that carrot being dangled. Me personally, I support the industry. I'm all in. I'm pretty sure you are too. What's the WIB doing in regards to offshore wind, or how are you kind of mobilizing to support that industry?
Well, that's probably the most prevalent job that's going to be available once these windmills are built, so to speak. Is going to be electromechanical repair people. And it's very specialized, obviously, because you don't just climb a ladder. You get hoisted up and you climb into the nacelle, and you're expected to get some work done, and then get back off the nacelle successfully, onto a ship somehow. Some of our maritime folks are at least have an idea of what being on a ship is like, but this is going to be highly specialized. We anticipate that the companies that have committed to to leasing the maritime terminal, so to speak, what do we call that? Maritime. What we call it?
The South Terminal?
Yeah, well, South Terminal, for lack of a better term. Anyway, Marine Commerce Terminal.
Yes.
So many names are running through my head. But
A lot of buzzwords.
the point being is that these companies are going to bring training dollars. And I think that we will see commitments that will begin to come up. And our job is probably going to be to find people for them, recruit, and then the companies will in most cases take the lead. We can't rely on federal dollars because federal dollars are waning. State dollars are also finite, but you never know until everything is really in place. It's getting in place. That much I know. And from the time that I followed this in 2012 and actually did a review on the effect of the environment and had to submit a fairly lengthy report. Review the federal report was about 430 pages, and I had to bring it down to a synopsis of about 12 pages.
Not too bad.
So
That's why you are who you are. So,
I still don't understand what I read, but I somehow figured it out.
so there are a lot of questions that I'll have for you as we continue to go on this program, but more importantly, we're here for the audience and for the viewers and listeners, and they have questions for you, Jim, and I've got some. Would you mind taking a few
I'll
questions?
do my best.
Okay. One question I'd like to ask from Jeff Taylor. Why are average pay rates in the New Bedford area half than the rest of the state?
Well, it's hard to say. I can't really say that that's the case. Starting wages are, yeah, I understand. There can be somewhere in
Well, the
around
cost of living is
$11 or $13, but when it comes down to the placements that we have that have been affected by the Career Center personnel, the average wage right now for placement as of the midpoint of this year was $17 and some change. So, $15 is considered, quote, a living wage. Not that I really agree with that, but I think that in some cases, a lot of employers are beginning to understand that in order to compete for good workers, they have to pay a better wage.
And of course, for the viewers and listeners of the show, if you have a stance on the minimum wage, there will be a ballot initiative in 2018 where you could vote to change that. It could go up as high as $15 an hour in yearly increments. So if you feel very passionate about that, you can make your voice heard at the ballot box in November of 2018. We have another question from my friend Carol Ryan, who I know you know. She says, Jim, can you talk about your partnership with Coastline's SCSEP program and partnering to identify potential training opportunities and work for those who are 55 years of age and over?
Thank you, Carol. Excuse me. We have a very interesting partnership with the Coastline Elderly and their senior programming to help folks get acclimated to jobs. Seniors are, from my point of view, because I am a senior as well, very highly capable of continuing to work well into their 60s and 70s, and that in many cases they possess a work ethic that has been lost over some time in terms of how you develop that work ethic. So we have folks that are literally, they're our Career Center partners from this particular program, and that as we move forward, we intend to strengthen our ties with them. In many cases, what we've done is, or in the past year, what we've done is begun to develop a very comprehensive memorandum of understanding, so that when an individual comes into the Career Center and let's just say that they are a senior, they could be referred to that, what we call the CSEP program, and Carol, forgive me if I've forgotten the acronym, but it certainly has to do with seniors. And Carol's program will be around and available to participate in the intake process for those individuals and to help assess, what they have for skills and work together with the Career Center to try to affect some placements.
Excellent. There are a couple of questions and comments about applying for jobs at New Bedford City Hall. Jim does not represent the city of New Bedford, and even though my other hat is on the city council, I don't work in human resources, so I can't answer those questions. I really don't know, nor would it be appropriate. And I'm sure you're not going to tackle that, Jim, because you don't work for the city.
We get the postings from our business service representative at the Career Center gets those postings, and individuals within whatever we put out to the public are instructed to follow the City Hall method for applying. That's all I know.
By the way, Carol commented, it's the Senior Community Service Employment Program.
Thank you so much, Carol.
A lot of acronyms, a lot of buzzwords.
There are many.
But that's okay. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the youth in that community. I know a lot of our viewers and listeners are very interested in what's happening at New Bedford High School, at Greater New Bedford Voc, Dartmouth High, the surrounding schools. What's happening with the WIB and its partners? I know there's the Great Connecting Activities program, but we're doing a lot of great work that I've seen over the last couple of years in growing internships, or what we call work-based learning opportunities. And we talk about that pipeline. This is another way to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Kids at the comprehensive high schools have two opportunities in front of them: either school to career or school to college. And the Connecting Activities program is a program that has been where we have partnered with the area high schools, some very active, some not as active in currently, but partnered with area high schools to deliver programs to help students understand being ready for work. Years ago, this is a great story, and I love to tell this story, but years ago when I was younger and some other folks were younger, you had a lot of these corner stores and hardware stores, and all owner operated, and you could go to one of those places and say, hey, can I do something like sweep the floors and learn a little bit about what you're doing here? Great story is my brother-in-law who was a pharmacist, and he used to hang around this one particular pharmacy where he lived 2 houses down from, and he learned about the trade and got so interested in it and worked in the retail side of the pharmacy that at some point in his life he decided he was going to go to Mass College of Pharmacy. He became a pharmacist. Nowadays, you don't have those opportunities. They're not as frequent. You don't have that corner store that it provides you that opportunity. In some cases, it's a liability issue, or 7-Elevens are franchised.
Right.
All of those types of things. So you kind of have to work your way into the back door, and you also have to teach kids how to work and work ethic, what it all means. So what we do is, working in the high school, at New Bedford High School, we work with about 150 kids, 200 kids a year. Over at Dartmouth High, another 80 or so. And we work to develop a baseline for their understanding of work and what's required of work. And then over a period of time, maybe a semester, as these young students learn more about what's required in work, they improve their baseline so that they're more work ready. And this is accomplished through job shadowing, it's accomplished through non-paid internships, it's accomplished through internships as well. So that's a connecting activities program. We've written a couple of grants where some of our students, we have 25 students right now, I believe, that are enrolled or will be enrolled in a STEM-based curriculum that will lead to clean energy paid internships next summer. So 25 kids are going to get paid internships and learn about the types of jobs that are available in clean energy. We're working in concert with Siemens Corporation. They're a partner, also a member of our board, and it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting venture because you're going to get to go up to Charleston and see the wind turbine project that's up there. There will be a couple of other field trips as well, so that they begin to understand how you make a building efficient. Use as an example, in Bedford High School is a totally energy efficient building now, and Siemens was responsible for creating that building envelope. So they're going about all of those aspects as well.
Don't forget, folks, if you're looking for work, if you're underemployed, the Hot Jobs link will be listed in the comments below, and we'll go over some of the other featured jobs in a little while. But again, it'll be in the comments below, so make sure you click that link to check that out. There are plenty of companies hiring. If you're underemployed, certainly now is a great time to start looking for work. Jim, we talked a lot about hard skills today and about training and that pipeline, that word that we keep using. But what about the soft skills? I think sometimes that gets overlooked, but the soft skills are so important: how to dress, how to act, how to behave yourself. Are there any programs in place to really teach the soft skill of an individual to kind of get them ready to rock and roll?
There are core services that are provided through the Career Center, and in many cases, within those services that are provided, we're addressing that. The resume writing, how to conduct yourself in an interview, what's the best way to make yourself available. Use as an example our manufacturing training that we did. We were very clear about being dressed for success, because at the end of each training cohort that we have conducted, we have 6 or 7 companies that make themselves available to interview these folks as they complete their credential program, and they're right there and ready to hire. So in many cases, I've seen cases where one individual, based on how well they impressed the employers, had 2 or 3 job offers right on the spot. So
wow,
it's really good stuff. I wanted to make if I could, make
absolutely
a point about also the work that we've done with the Voc Techs.
And Kelly Martin actually had a question about Voc Tech, so that's an amazing transition. I'll let
Okay.
you make your point, and then I'll go to her question.
Sure.
Maybe you'll answer her question, who knows?
I don't know, but with the Voc Techs, we've had some interesting work done. Over the last 2 years, the WIB has supported and reviewed applications for capital skills grants for, new equipment for the Voc schools that are in our region. That's Old Colony and New Bedford Voc as well. And Bedford Voc's received over $1 million in capital skills grants. They've turned their whole machine shop, which was basically an old setup shop, to now a CNC machine shop, which I know that folks are welcome to go up and take a peek at that. And over at Old Colony, they've done some stuff with robotics, and I believe their machine-assisted carpentry program as well. A real special grant that we got recently was with Commonwealth Corporation, and we got a $75,000 grant to take 20 kids and teach them scuba and have them credentialed as divers.
Wow.
For which it's a great credential to have if you're in the trades, because if you can imagine, if you weld and you can weld well, think of you asked me about wind. Well, a lot of the work's going to be done underwater. You have to set those towers up underwater, and you'll need those types of specialties. Law enforcement, in terms of dive teams, and a number of other opportunities that these kids will have as a result of this.
So you kind of answered Kelly's question, but I guess I'll get right to it. She says, this is in regard to the Siemens opportunity, I believe.
Yeah.
She says, is that student opportunity available for all students in New Bedford, including GNB, VT, Greater New Bedford, Voc Tech?
Well,
Meaning, are you getting Siemens involved with Voc at all, or?
If I recall, I think Siemens donated software to Voc Tech a few years back. So Siemens is, put it this way, we're trying to spread the wealth as best as we possibly can. Not everything can go to Voc, and not everything can go to New Bedford High School, and we've got to get it out as far to the east as Wareham High School.
Yep.
So there are six high schools in our region, and that's the challenge that we have in front of us now, is to expand our reach as a WIB on behalf of our board.
And that's the thing. People, I think, might fail to realize, because you're the Greater New Bedford Workforce Investment Board. With the New Bedford is in there, what gets lost is the fact that you represent Wareham and Marion and Mattapoisett and Acushnet and Freetown. There's a lot to your catchment area.
And because we're federally funded, the Department of Labor reminds us of this in a constant manner.
So John Gregorio, not a question, but more of a comment. He said, this is his opinion, I would assume, obviously. He said, students think getting a college degree is the only way, but that the trades are a dying breed. I got to tell you, my personal opinion of that, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, only because I went to New Bedford High School. I didn't learn any trade. I can't do anything. And the perception was different back when I went to high school. The perception was you would go to New Bedford High to go to college to get a degree, and you would go to vocational to learn a trade. Well, as we know, that's not the case anymore. You can go to a great vocational school, get a top-notch education, and learn a trade. But the point I wanted to make is that I can't do anything in my house. My wife will tell you, okay? So anytime something happens that's electrical, HVAC related, plumbing related, I have to call someone who's a vocational school graduate to come to my house. They're charging me almost $100 an hour, so they're getting the last laugh, believe me, and they're doing very well, and God bless them. They deserve to do very well. But I don't know if you had any assertions on that, but it seems like we're pushing the trades a lot more nowadays.
All right, so I'm the son of an electrician who went to Voc.
Yeah.
And in many cases, I sometimes have questioned my sanity, why I went to college instead of having gone to Volk, because I did learn a little bit about electrical, enough to get by through my dad, to do simple stuff. But there are still young people who are intent on getting a trade and working in the trades. Not as many, and, Volk prides itself on the fact that about 80% of their student population go on to post-secondary education of some type. And, so we've got 20% that probably are moving into the trades. We could probably need more, but it's this phenomenon of folks who learn about let's just say the electrical trade, or learn a little bit about engineering while they're at the Volk Tech, and they see beyond that. And I think that's also a great thing as well, because a lot of these folks are not just going into liberal arts study, they're going into a STEM-related program that will further their capacity to earn.
So we got you for about another 10 more minutes, if you don't mind. Another question from...
I thought this was a half-hour show.
Well, we started. Hey, listen, when the subject matter is so robust and it's so great, and the host is doing a great job, and the guest is so great, we just fly right by, my friend. But no, in all seriousness, Les Thomas Hull asking, this probably is more of a question for Derek Santos at the Economic Development Council, but I'll punt it over to you in case you want to tackle it. No pun intended with all the football references, but you can tell I've got Patriots on the brain. Les Thomas Hull wants to know, is there a plan to bring more business to the area, high-end or otherwise?
Well, you're absolutely right. That's not my bailiwick. Our bailiwick is to be
To get them ready, yeah.
when new industry is coming to the area as early as possible, so that we can begin to understand the types of jobs that will be coming available. And when we're given the appropriate timing to do that, the Career Center does a bang-up job of recruiting folks, and in some cases we can also work together with that new tenant in our community to develop training that would be appropriate to move folks into their corporate culture.
So, Mr. Hull, what I would recommend is when we get Derek Santos on the program, which hopefully will be sometime over the next month, you can ask him that question as well. The last major question for me is marijuana. Where do we stand on this? The feds are having their position with Jeff Sessions, Charlie Baker, our governor, and the Cannabis Control Commission at the state level. They're saying, let it go. We're going to continue to pursue with the industry recreationally here in New Bedford. I would assume you're not able to train folks, correct, because you're federally funded in some regards. How does that, and if you don't know the answer right now, that's fine. I'm just wondering where you stand, because if, like ARL, for example, or Beacon Compassion, or any kind of eventually recreational dispensary, how does this all play out for a workforce investment board? Are you able to help these people?
Well, you know what? You got me.
Okay. I don't know, because again, you've got the Fed saying one thing and Charlie Baker is saying something else.
That's true, and I think that much like the way that we've got this legislation now, and the way that the mandate of the state went and everything else, I guess we might be asking for forgiveness rather than permission. I don't know.
The governor has told the U.S. attorney for the state, he said, back off of marijuana, I want you to focus on the opiate crisis. But he has to answer to Jeff Sessions, and I don't know, it's going to be interesting.
If you have a grow facility, they're going to need workers. That's all I know. And how they recruit for those workers is going to be a very good question that I intend to pose to people at the state level, now that you brought that up.
I wasn't going to ask this final question because I know you have to run, but this question is so good I can't not ask it. From Denise Silvera, are there any plans for returnships? I've been researching this opportunity, which is geared for the 40-plus workers looking to enter a new industry or are returning to the workforce.
Are there any plans for returnships? That's a great question.
Right.
And I think I understand the concept. And
Otherwise known as the older workforce, she says.
40 is not old.
No, I agree.
Uh,
I'm knocking on that door, Jim.
That's right. So the best advice I can give an individual who is seeking to return to the workforce is to go to the Career Center, register at the Career Center, work with one of the career counselors and work up an assessment so that you can get a feel for what the skill sets are. And if you're a little bit behind on, let's just use as an example, technology,
Yeah.
then you might be eligible to take a Microsoft platform course through our training vendors, and then be able to be absorbed appropriately into the workforce.
Jim, before I let you go, do you want to put out your professional contact information if folks want to call your office or if they have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the guy that, and we discussed this earlier, I fly at 30,000 feet. I don't necessarily do programming. I'm more involved in policy. But if people want to talk to us about policy or want to make comment, they're always encouraged to look at our website, gmbwib.org. And we have our strategic plan posted. We provide information about events, and if someone really needs to be connected to the Career Center and you're having a problem, I don't mind taking a call and making sure that we can get you there. But I have full faith in the integrity of those folks that work down there to provide a service. It might take a little time because, sometimes the people are busy, and all of the counselors are busy. But if you go there, I always say go in the afternoon. It's a little bit quieter, and somebody's going to take care of you.
Well, Jim, you were a gentleman as a counselor, and it was my pleasure to serve with you and be your colleague. It's also my pleasure to call you a colleague in workforce and business development, and it's been my pleasure to have you on for the last. We kept you 10 minutes over than what I promised.
That's okay.
That's okay. Jim, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and we look forward to having you on in the future.
Very good.
So while we transition off of our guest, why don't we pull up our hot jobs list, and we'll take a look at what we have featured here in the greater New Bedford region. And we're also going to take a look at some of our featured jobs here that I'd like to read off, and these are jobs that need to be filled right here and now. So let's take a look at Qdoba, for example. Qdoba in Fall River, they're now hiring for multiple positions at their new Southcoast Marketplace location. You may recall the marketplace, the Southcoast Marketplace. It was formerly the Harbor Mall in Fall River. It's beautiful. You've got to check it out. So if you're looking for a change or a new career, and you can read it right below, but Qdoba is looking for the following positions at their Fall River location. They're looking for a restaurant team leader. They're looking for restaurant cooks and team members. If you want to apply, you can just go right to their location on site, fill out an application at the new Qdoba located at 500 William S. Canning Boulevard, Fall River, Massachusetts. There is also a link below where you can click if you want more information or to apply online. But obviously Qdoba does a great job, and they're very well represented. We have a location in Dartmouth, so if that's something you want to do, you want to work for Qdoba and you're looking for work, they're hiring in Fall River. The next featured job I wanted to talk about is the complete labor and staffing here in New Bedford. They are hiring, and they have immediate openings for multiple positions. So complete labor and staffing, they're actually hiring today. like as in right now, at their downtown New Bedford location. So you just bring yourself, nothing else, down to their office at 256 Union Street. They're open until 7 p.m. tonight, so you have about another hour and 15 minutes to get down there, apply for a job, and start working right away. But if you can't go today, they're usually open from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if you're willing to work and you have a positive attitude, they will put, so they claim, and I believe them, they're a great organization, they will put 100% effort into finding the right job and right assignment for you. Again, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. their offices are open, and their assignments begin daily, and again, they continue on to week-long positions, month-long, and who knows, they may end up becoming more permanent as time goes on. But when you do go, make sure you bring 2 forms of a valid ID, okay? Bring either your driver's license, a state ID, military ID, or your passport, or a social security card, birth certificate, just so they can validate who you are. Again, that's Complete Labor and Staffing, 256 Union Street, right downtown New Bedford, open until 7 p.m. tonight. They're normally 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Also, too, let's talk about real estate. If you're interested in selling homes, does real estate have you interested? Well, if you're considering a new career in real estate, the Advantage School of Real Estate is offering classes starting this month. So, kick off your 2018 with a bang. Classes start at the end of the month, so January 27th, they begin. And so, in the course, they will teach you and get you certified in the Massachusetts Real Estate Program. The tuition is just under $300, and they have live in-person instructors with instruction. The format will be 2 weekend and 4-day course offerings. So you're going to learn from area experts, Michael Amaral and Brian Cormier, who combined have 31 years of experience. So as you know, as the economy is turning around, it's once again becoming a buyer's market. So again, if you're looking to really get some unlimited potential financially for yourself and grow professionally, this might be a good chance to do that. You see the link right there to get more information, where you can find out more about this wonderful opportunity. Again, but as the economy turns around and more people have income, they're looking to buy homes. So again, it certainly is becoming it's really a seller's and a buyer's market, to be honest with you. People are looking to sell their properties, to upgrade to bigger homes, and people are looking to buy homes. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. And the last big feature job that we wanted to focus on today was Care One. So Care One is hiring full-time CNAs, but here's the real kicker: $1,000 sign-on bonus if you are hired and offered the position, which is really amazing. Who wouldn't like an extra $1,000 in their wallet or their purse? So the Care One New Bedford mission is to define excellence within the healthcare community. We are dedicated to maximizing patient outcomes. They say treat residents and their families with respect, dignity, and compassion. Through a collaborative and consultative approach, they strive to provide framework for strength and stability for their centers and communities. So again, it's a $1,000 sign-on bonus if for full-time CNAs if you're already certified. The shifts are 3 to 11, so 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., the second shift, and then it'd be 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., third shift. They must commit to a job in New Bedford, and the classes start soon. So this is all through the Coastal Career Academy. And if you would like to schedule an interview, you can call the number 508-996-4600, 996-4600. But again, you look at this package: 401k, health care, paid time off, and employment opportunities to advance in the company, free training. It's really a great deal. If you want to get into healthcare, if you're already in healthcare, this is an opportunity you cannot miss. So again, folks, I wanted to thank you all for tuning in this evening. I wanted to thank Jim Oliveira, who did a great job as my guest today. I think we had some great discussion about workforce development and what's happening not only in New Bedford, but the entire region as a whole and what we're trying to collectively accomplish to get not only students and our young men and women college and career ready, but to get folks who are adults, whether they're just leaving college or they're looking for a new career or they're unemployed, underemployed, doesn't matter what age group, there's something for them here in New Bedford and the greater South Coast region. And as you heard from Jim, he's a great resource, and I hope you'll call him or you'll call the Greater New Bedford Career Center with any questions, concerns, or comments or advice that you may have. Make sure you stay tuned for our show next week. Next Tuesday at 5 p.m., we're looking to have another great guest in, and we'll be making that announcement later on this week. Again, our shows can be seen and heard here every Tuesday evening from 5 to 6 p.m. live, and we encourage engagement from all of you. So if you have questions, you have comments, please fire them in at me, and I'll make sure that we ask our guest those questions. That's why we have industry experts and industry leaders in here to be able to answer your questions. And again, as I said during the open, and as we said last week when we kind of gave an intro to what the show is going to be about, our goal here is to get people back to work and to make those connections. And if we can play a small part in continuing to decrease the unemployment numbers in New Bedford and raise employment opportunities, then we would have done our job. And we're happy to be here. We're happy to have this show. And again, thank you to New Bedford Guide for the opportunity to be able to connect to thousands of people each and every week to get people where they need and want to be. Again, thank you all for watching and listening. This is Ian Abreu for the Southcoast Job Show. Have a great week, New Bedford.